Reminiscences of the good old days. In this regard, I join Sir Shemo Rebadejo in this drive to have a better tomorrow for ourselves, our children, and for future generations. Thank you.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them.
If you no talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 they pay.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Waves, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Osayome Sali, and today we have a full house. Hello, ladies. Nama Efa and Elsie Godwin. Who am I starting with? Let me start with the yellow. How are you?
The glowing lady.
The glowing lady. She glows. How are you, Elsie?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, actually. I am grateful to be here and alive. Okay. Oh yeah, on Saturday we went for our cancer screening. I was so happy to see my cervix looking all healthy and clean, free from anything. What do they call them? What do they call that thing? Anything cervical cancer.
It's good to do.
Yeah.
Gone are the days where you just wait and
they say I think from 40 or so, or even earlier now.
Earlier.
35,
Now,
as long as you're sexually active. So if you are sexually active from 12, you'll be checking from 12. Yeah.
But this is a good time to just remind everyone out there. I mean, this is October, Cancer Awareness Month, and it means that a lot of NGOs and organizations are doing free or discounted screening all over the country. So please take advantage of it. Check yourself, breast, cervical. I mean, the ones that we can at least check and prevent, let's just do it and get the vaccine as well.
Early detection is very key.
Yeah.
Now, how was your day? It was good. It was fast-paced, one thing back to back, and here ending the day on ways. Awesome. Nice. Awesome. So today we're discussing emotional intelligence, and here's what we found as today's quote. Tact is the knack of making a point without making an enemy. This is from Isaac Newton. All right, so emotional intelligence is becoming the single most important human and social capacity currency for learning and leading. That's the quote I picked from our guest, his book. So can emotional intelligence transform Africa? That's our question tonight. Abiola Salami is here to discuss this, but first we'll take a break to see what we found in the news. Now, October 18 is World Vasectomy Day, a project drawing attention to male-focused family planning. While the mental load of contraception usually falls on women, today is about drawing attention to the fact that men too can contribute. So what's a vasectomy, you might ask? Permanent male sterilization occurs through surgery by blocking the tube that carries sperm, called vas deferens. Now, in this scrotum, or in the scrotum of a man, so the sperm can exist. Can't exit the body rather. So in the U.S., about 500,000 vasectomies are performed yearly. It's great for people who don't really want to have kids anymore, but it doesn't protect against STI. Let's just put out that one there. It does not stop you from having HIV/AIDS or other STDs or STIs, you know. But vasectomy is fast becoming widely accepted by men. I remember when the subject of vasectomy just came up, a lot of men were scared that if they go through that procedure, it might affect their sexual their sexual performance in bed. So a lot of people were shying away from that.
But it's not affecting the one that is not on bed, because I don't understand.
Well, their sexual performance, sorry. I've forgotten that some of us don't do it on a bed. All right, so it will affect their sexual performance. So now I think a lot more men are welcoming the idea because, you know, the concept of family planning and all of that, the burden is always on a woman. I remember, 2017, when I attempted to do something family planning, I now put the one you put in your arm, almost the kind of acne, there was no space on my face, you know. So, the other one I attempted was injections, and I blew up so big, I was so fat and all of that. So I just stay away from anything family planning because I don't think my hormones work well with them. So I'm happy that there are options for men.
So what method are you using now?
We'll be right back.
Okay,
I don't know.
So for me, I like the idea of this day to raise awareness because, like you rightly said, there's a lot of burden on women, and even beyond contraceptives and the side effects you just mentioned. Just being a woman alone and not even thinking of having a child, there's a lot going on in your body, your hormones. I read somewhere that I think 90% of women actually have fibroid. Now it depends on how big it is and if they should now start watching it to do surgery and all that. So we have all that's happening in the body, and if this is something that can be, it's not if it's something that's an option, but it's advisable when they are done having kids. So you because the reverse surgery is not 100%.
Yeah, but I hear I hear that there's a reverse surgery, but it's not 100% foolproof, right?
Yes.
Nothing is
100%. So really. If you're done having kids, instead of still waiting for your wife to be the one popping pills and going through all the stress, why not just put a tap? Is it what they call it? A cap.
On the tap.
on the cement, on the tap, you know, and just I mean, we are laughing, but
Put a lock in it, baby.
Put a lock.
Put a lock. Well, how about you,
I
Nova?
think it's noble if more and more men embraced that option, because like you rightly said, Elsie, it would take away the pressure from the woman having to always be the one to do one thing or the other. It's either you're removing your womb or you're on one
Coil, one fertility,
not fertility.
One family planning.
One family planning program
or
the other. It can put a lot of pressure on the woman. So if more women or more men are open to
vasectomy,
I
think we should have this conversation now.
Especially because it doesn't have side effects.
Let's have this conversation and see would you as a man be open to vasectomy? Would you be open to vasectomy?
Next week, you have more important conversations.
Yeah, no, this week is already it's fully booked.
It will be Thursday for you and your women gang.
All right, so Elsie, let me come to you. What did you find for us in the news?
Okay, so this broke yesterday, but it's still gaining momentum. It's about a what are they called now? An investment platform which have the owners have absconded. I can't find the story where I kept it now, but the owners have absconded with about 22 billion.
Oh, Oluwa.
And people are not happy. A lot of people invested in these people. They have allegedly left the country and cannot be reached. Their lawyers are saying they cannot comment on the issue, that they don't know anything about their whereabouts. Of course, we have on the other side some people that have been mentioned as investors are coming out to debunk the story, to say they did not invest. But it's a sad one, because you won't blame people for wanting to invest. But remember the conversation we had on this show about investment, where we actually brought someone from an investment platform to talk to people. And one of the things she said was about the return on investment, and
you must always check it.
So when somebody tells you that they're going to give you 10% every month on your capital,
that's a red flag already.
Think about it. I mean, Nigeria alone, even the big people that would say their company or whatever they're producing is not affected with the state of the economy, COVID-19 and everything, they won't be giving you 10% on your capital as return on investment. So can't you begin to question it, to wonder where exactly are you going to put my money and bring it?
I will get that much return. That same person she's gone around all her clients in the bank. How market now?
Imagine how
so now that one she'll be in trouble.
Have been affected.
And I mean, I've had friends that have invested in things like this until tomorrow. They are still trying to get their money out. It's not even a pleasant thing to even look at.
Especially so the name of your company is Imagine Global Solution Limited.
And what is the name of the people again?
Bamishe and Elizabeth Ajetumobi.
They are declared wanted. Norma, let's find your story.
Okay, mine is a story about Colin Powell. Who passed at the age of 84. So, he's a well-known former Secretary of State in the U.S. and he's had quite a good life. Let me put it that way, because he's a retired 4-star general. He was a former chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, who have served up to 4 presidents.
I think he was the first black secretary of
and
state,
he was
right?
the first black secretary of state. So he had quite a record on his sleeves before he passed. And he lived a very good life, I guess. He had a wonderful career, let me put it that way, because not very few African Americans are able to get to that level of achievement. And he did it. And he died at a ripe old age. Let me put it, 84. I know there's never a good time to pass on, but I think he lived that. Unfortunately, I think he also died of COVID-19. Complications, even though he was fully vaccinated. So it's also an outcry there that even though they get vaccinated, it's still not enough to protect you. You have to wear your mask. You have to, use all the things that you need to keep yourself protected, because it's still out there. Absolutely. I know in Nigeria we don't we've moved on.
Talking about Nigeria.
To keep safe.
Talking about Nigeria. I found this story very interesting.
Right.
So candidates, they say they are unable to access the portal as police recruitment begins today. The candidates applying for the Nigerian Police Force recruitment have been unable to access the portal despite the exercise starting today. So in a statement that the PRO had signed, or public relations officer, that's CP Frankuba, he had said on Friday that the portal will be open today. So upon the people that checked the portal today, they actually went online, and apart from the landing page and the contact page of the portal, every other thing was not unresponsive. So
Said is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are...
You can leverage on each other's spaces and, sell. We believe in Nigeria, right? We believe that Nigeria can get better. We, the youth, are the ones that can make it better.
And my products are proudly made in Nigeria.
Made in Niger, showing every Tuesday at 10:30 p.m. and repeats on Saturday at 8:30 a.m.
Are you ready to party right from the comfort of your TV screen? The Rundown's here to save the day. From freshly baked videos to the classics to the youngins and dope conversations, all in one chart. We got you covered. Just tune in to The Rundown every Friday, 10:30 p.m. West African time. The Rundown. Let's turn it up.
Praise God, from whom all blessings flow. Welcome to your favorite program, The Moment of Truth, brought to you by the Citadel Global Community Church. Our God is a God of salvation, far above all principality and power and might and dominion, that regardless of what happens in this season, you will escape. Say to your neighbor, there is no peace for the wicked. The lazy man does not roast what he took in hunting, but diligence is a man's precious possession. Finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord and in the power of his might.
Moment of Truth with Pastor Tunde Bakare. Sundays, 7 p.m. on PlusTvAfrica.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, emotional intelligence is defined as the ability to understand and manage your own emotions, as well as recognize and influence the emotions of those around you. When you think of a perfect leader, what comes to your mind? I guess you might picture someone who never lets his temper or her temper get out of control, no matter what problems he or she is facing. Or you might think of someone who has the complete trust of his or her staff, listen to his or her team, is easy to talk to, and always makes careful, informed decisions. Now, these are qualities of someone with a high degree of emotional intelligence. Now, is this really important in transforming Africa? As a conversation for tonight. Now, please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. So I want to bring in our guest in a minute. Why are you laughing, Elsie?
You've not finished transforming Nigeria.
No. It has to be an African thing. So
okay.
Emotion. So no, because the thing is, I used to think. In fact, it's not even an African. It's actually a global problem. Okay. I used to think that some of the challenges that we see in Nigeria is unique to Nigeria, but it's not. No, it's not. If you look through African countries, you see that. We're almost like a mirror of ourselves when it comes to the way we behave. So I just want to find intelligent ways to move us forward as a continent. But let me tell you, let me hear your thoughts. Do you think emotional intelligence can truly transform Africa?
Mm-hmm. It can transform the world, like you've rightly said.
Not Africa.
Well, Africa, yes, of course. But when it comes to emotional intelligence, it has to start with the individual before you begin to move it to the next person, and then to an organization and the society, a community, and then nation, Africa, and all that. So for me, I think it begins with self-awareness, understanding yourself, understanding your environment, and then understanding how to manage that as well as your relationship management. So I think it's something really important. While you were introducing the topic, you talked about understanding your emotions and also being able to relate to people around you. I think that's the primary point of emotional intelligence, and a lot of people do not have that, so yeah.
Never thank.
I mean, it's something that I champion a lot of times in my conversations because it's very important, and it's not just important for the African setting. It's a global experience. It's a global problem where people are not aware how their emotions or how their actions affect the larger population or the people around them. You find out that awareness is a fantastic, because when people know something, then they can now make informed decisions whether or not they want to take actions to deal with it. And when people don't know how the actions or their emotions affect the family members, you just find yourself in different conflict situations that could have easily been resolved if you knew how your actions or what to do to change the situation.
Seems we have changed you.
Abiola, no, you didn't change it actually. I just have a lot on my mind. Would you not change you? No. So, wow. Let me bring you now again. Abiola is a world-class performance strategist who has done incredible work in improving the performance of executives and organizations. He is a Harvard alumni, LBS alumni, who recently released a new book, The Magic of Emotional Intelligence, and he is calling on everyone to acquire this all-important skill so we can better manage our businesses and money, and also relationships. And he's joined in live with us in studio. Thank you so much, Abiola.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So the reason I'm just doing is, so I say something, I write it on my status, that 3 things that I place a premium on: my mind, my mirror, and my life. My mirror, because I'm able to look at myself and speak truth to myself. And I realized that when it comes to handling people and dealing with people, and this is not just, I mean, like we had rightly said, it's not just a local thing, it's global. You must be at a high level of probably wisdom or something for you to be able to deal and handle the human being. And so every time I look at us in Africa, it just seems like there's so much gap, emotional intelligence gap, that even people to people, government to people, families and all of that, is always lacking because we're not able to apply that tact in dealing with situations, right? So maybe you should help us with this issue, because do you see the possibility of us becoming a lot more better, with the infusion of emotional intelligence in Africa?
Great question. Complex question. Was a great question. And first, let me say thank you, for having me here. This is my second time with Waze, but the first time
live.
First time live. Yes. The other time it was online.
Yes.
And one would have thought that, seeing you beautiful ladies, yeah, it's because it's on TV. But people, I tell you, the same thing you're seeing on your screen is what I'm seeing here. And don't be jealous of me. I'm just with them today.
That's on periods.
Yes. So the introduction of emotional intelligence, can it transform Africa? The answer is yes. And as ladies, as you've said, it's not just an African thing, it's a global thing. It's everywhere there's human being. To a large extent, we have a lot of smart people, smart based on their IQ, their profession. So you're an engineer, you're a doctor, you're an accountant, you're a journalist, you're a media personality, you have intellectual competence, you're a medical doctor, and we celebrate that every now and then. But research has revealed to us, and this is globally, not just Africa, that our competence, our technical competence, is only responsible for 10% of our success. The other 90% has nothing to do with that technical competence, which is EQ. So IQ for your technical competence, 10%, which is what people see, which is what you find when you check people's resume, you know. But the other one that is underlying is EQ. About 90% that's responsible for people's success. So you can find someone who is really smart, you know, a first-class degree from the best of schools in the world, and then you put the person in a role, and the person cannot function effectively. When it comes to crunching the numbers, the person perhaps can't crunch the numbers, but when you switch that role into relating with people, the person perhaps cannot manage people effectively. But even before managing people effectively, managing myself effectively, because that's the beginning of emotional intelligence, actually. You know, that in the middle of triggers, you know, things to trigger certain emotions in me, that I can control that. So things to trigger anger in me, for example. And colloquially, I like to call triggers mumu button. You know, and the interesting thing is that a lot of people know our mumu button, even when we don't know that.
They know how to press it.
And they press it for fun. They press it because they know the response they are to get. Think about it. If you had a nickname while you were in secondary school or primary school, you know, and then your friends will call you that name. The reason that name probably stuck is because the first time they called you that name, said, no, don't call me that name, I'm not that kind of person. And of course they continued, you know, pressing the mumu button just to watch you behave that way. And perhaps you're not the one with the nickname, perhaps you are one of those people calling people their nicknames. And you know that once you say that particular thing, they will behave that way. Self-management begins with me understanding my triggers, you know. And because I understand the triggers, the place of self-awareness, for example, I can effectively manage myself. So can we transform the continent with the introduction of emotional intelligence? Yes. But I won't even use the word introduction. I'll use the word mainstream, because introduction sounds like we don't have it, you know, like it's zero. A lot of people have emotional intelligence, but most people don't. Sadly, most leaders don't. One of the ways to know a leader with emotional intelligence is to display a critical skill in emotional intelligence called empathy. Empathy says seek first to understand before you are understood. Empathy says that the people I'm responsible for, the fact that I understand I'm responsible for them, by the way, is the beginning of empathy. Empathy says that seek first to understand the people I'm responsible for, such that whatever I will say to them, whatever I will do with them, would show that I am sensitive. You know, enough. I mean, today is October, what again? Today is October 18. Okay.
20th is coming.
Okay, you know. And I remember vividly, you know, just about 364 days ago, or rather 63 days ago. 363 days ago, a lot of people were hoping, you know, for something promising, you know, to come out of, you know,
the NSAS protest.
Not just the protest now. The protest has gone down the way it went down, and people were expecting some succor, some comfort, you know, from what solace, you know, from what has happened. And this is not just for young people; it's for people all across the country. A situation that happened in Lagos, yet the commercial nerve center of the country, but a lot of people all across the country felt it. And you would have thought that, you know, the pain that will come, you know, from leadership will be comfort, you know, something to show that we're sensitive to, empathy. You know, we're sensitive to what has just happened. I mean, even lie to us that we are doing 1, 2, 3, 4, you know. And I'm not saying that emotional intelligence is lying to people. I'm just saying that you would have thought that there will be something.
Sometimes it is,
you know, but there was nothing like that. While that is a big issue on a national level, also even in our homes, amongst our friends, amongst colleagues, how we run business, you know, with customers, with team members, how we show the lack of empathy. Because for the most part, I just want to be heard. I just want to say my own. You know, I just want to be understood. I don't want to understand. And I believe that the reason every human being are gifted by God to have 2 ears and 1 mouth is because the good God Almighty intended that we should listen more than we speak. But you and I know that there are a lot of people with 2 ears and 1 mouth who talk as though they have no ear at all.
Wow.
You know,
Okay. So I know you are managing consultant to a company that have actually trained a lot of people on workforce productivity, women empowerment, youth leadership. So I was going to really ask you to rate emotional intelligence in this part of the world, especially when we know we are in a repressive society. But I'm going to double that back to say, from what you have said, do you think that emotional intelligence is more important for the leaders or for the followers?
Great question. Emotional intelligence is important for every human being. A lot of times we focus on leadership because we have expectation from leadership. That expectation is rightly true, and leaders, political leaders, business leaders should rise up to the expectation. While that is said, it is equally important for the followers, for the team members and emerging leaders, which is how I like to describe people who are not yet in leadership positions, for emerging leaders to embrace emotional intelligence. Because it doesn't only reflect when you are leading people or you are responsible for people, it also starts with the way you lead and manage yourself. In fact, someone said that the best form of leadership is not leading other people, but leading myself. So there was COVID last year, for example. Leading myself is ensuring that I don't allow anxiety to get the best of me. Because when anxiety gets the best of me, I'm useless to my family and I'm useless to whichever place that I'm working. I'm not as productive. I won't be as productive as I'm supposed to be. I'll be able to meet up with the responsibilities required of me, even as a team member. Part of COVID is, yes, everywhere was down. Everybody was losing hope. Part of emotional intelligence is you yourself having the capacity to know how to inspire yourself. And by inspiration, we're not talking about
aspire to perspire.
All of that. No, we're not saying all of that. We're saying that you can generate energy such that despite all the things happening around you, you can still propel yourself, to doing what you're meant to do. And I tell you a story, about emotional intelligence and myself. I was having a conversation earlier with a friend today who said that, many years ago, we didn't have the description emotional intelligence for something some people were doing, which is why I said I won't mention introducing emotional intelligence.
It's always been there. It's just that now it has a name and
and mainstreaming it, just spreading it and making more people aware of what it is. I didn't call it emotional intelligence until a friend of mine mentioned it. And it's an experience we both shared some 20 years ago. July 19th this year, it was exactly 20 years. I know the date for sure because it's something that happened to me. On that date, it was a Thursday. That was the day I lost my dad. And how it happened, unfortunately, it was his birthday as well.
Wow.
So we celebrated the birthday for the first time, since I've known him. I was a customs officer, so he's always at the border somewhere or at work. But that day, thankfully, he was around the house. We had a wonderful celebration. We're planning how the future will be for the family. I was sharing a few ideas. I was a young boy, but sharing a few ideas, transformation. So in the evening, I'd gone for this dress rehearsal for a drama production we had in the church I was attending. And so at about 11 p.m. or thereabout, I saw my younger brother running across from the church. We're all young people outside, gisting, waiting for the gen to be turned on, gen, because there's no power. The generating set to be turned on. And so he said that my dad was gasping for breath, and so he was looking for a way to get a Ventolin that night. It was so late. So I thought that no pharmacy would still be open by that time, that maybe we should just take him to a clinic close by. So I went home, I left my friends, went home, no GSM that time. So, went home, then in the company of my mom, my dad, and my brother, 4 of us, we took him to the hospital. When we got to the gate of the clinic, the gate was shut, and the nurse on duty was talking to us from inside the hospital that she had closed. We screamed, we name dropped, we begged, we rolled on the floor, we did all we could to convince her that we had an emergency. She did not attend to us. And finally, my dad gave up holding the gate right there. And of course, his girlfriend and wife of many years, that's my mom, screamed, we all screamed. And that's when the nurse opened the door and came out. So we got to the entrance with someone who was alive were gasping for breath. We walked there. We didn't drive down, so he could walk. You know, with someone gasping for breath, but we took a corpse into the hospital because we were there for some 30 minutes plus or so before he gave up. Touching story. So that night, remember, I was attending a dress rehearsal. I was to attend a dress rehearsal rather that we had not started. So there were no mobile phones, so my friends couldn't call me to ask what's going on until the following morning when the news broke everywhere that, oh, I've lost my dad. I went back to the venue, which is the church, to tell them in the morning, say, no wonder we're thinking, where were you yesterday? And so that was on the Thursday. The Friday was the drama performance, and Saturday was the major drama performance, and I was one of the major casts, in the drama. Wow. So I'm firstborn, unfortunately. And so earlier in the day on that Friday, running around, mortuary stuff, trying to make things happen. In the evening, I reported to play my role in the drama. I played the piano, I inserted the soundtrack, did everything I was supposed to do, went back home. On Saturday, which was the main drama, of course, I was there to play my role, did everything, and that went on. And so, my friend said to me many years later, so
how were you able to?
Okay, I'm about to say it. My friend said to me many years later that, when you train people on emotional intelligence and all these things that you are doing, I think they don't really know what you're talking about. I said, how can you say that? These guys are paying me to come and do this again and again. He said, because his experience of emotional intelligence had nothing to do with whatever book I've written or whatever I do on social media. It had everything to do with the one-on-one interaction that he saw. That as at that time, we didn't have that expression for it. Now, what I didn't know is that every other person on the team said that if this had happened to any other person in the team, we would have cancelled this production. But Abiola took this on effectively.
In spite of.
Yeah, so how did I go about it? First is I am aware that I have a big loss. I'm firstborn, that's my senior brother, that's my mentor, that's the person paying my school fees. I was in year 2 in the university, so I knew that I have a reality to deal with, 1. 2 is, I also realized that no matter how much I cry or jump up or recluse myself this time, he won't come back, neither will any of the problems that I now have go away. Oh, by the way, that also meant that I inherited 4 children I didn't give birth to, and 1 wife I didn't propose to. I mean, my mom and my siblings. Immediately that's what happened to me. So I had a realization, and I thought that, okay, also, for the past 3 months, we've been campaigning all around, telling people to come and watch this drama. Then will I let these people go? You may be wondering that, how can you say you are thinking when you lost your dad and all of this is going on? And I think it's a great thing about emotional intelligence, self-awareness. I'm aware of my present state. I know what has just befallen me. At the same time, I understand that I have a responsibility. Then moving to self-management, no problem. I will do what I'm supposed to do based on my responsibility here. By the way, it was a volunteer service. So not like they won't pay me my salary if I don't show up and all of that. And that was the beginning of emotional intelligence awareness for me, that conversation. So there are people who have it naturally. There are people who continue to learn to grow, which is where I belong, learning to grow. There are people who are not aware of it at all. And so they are complaining that they've spent X number of years on a particular role. They are probably meeting their target, but they are not being promoted, right? They are complaining that, so I'm with this man or I'm with this woman, I'm a wife, I'm a husband, I'm a boyfriend, I'm a girlfriend. I just don't understand this person I'm with. Whereas the beginning of it is to even first understand yourself. Or someone saying that, this man will kill me, or this woman will kill me.
Let's go on a break. You know what? Let's hold that thought. Let's go on a very short break. We'll be right back. Oh, wow. Thanks for staying with us. If you just tuned in, we're having an amazing conversation with Abiola Champ Salami on emotional intelligence and, the impact, right? The impact, if this can actually transform Africa, the impact it will have on transforming Africa. Please let us hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-84663. Sorry, please, the WhatsApp line is for WhatsApp or messages only. No, what's it called? No calls. Okay, Mama.
Well, I was just thinking as Abiola was talking, and I'm wondering, I mean, at a young age, you had to deal with that, but there are so many people, yeah, and like you rightly said, there are a lot of people who are unaware completely. So, and unfortunately, probably they're the larger group of people or population. So how does this transformation begin to, what can we do more of to begin to inspire this transformation across Africa?
Okay, great question. The beginning of the problem is an awareness of the problem, that this problem exists. And the more we talk about having people understand emotional intelligence, the more we have more people knowing it and seeking intervention in that direction. That is one. Two is that there are resources available. You know, there are books available. Yes, I have one. There are books available, you know, to make people learn emotional intelligence. Also, around us, we have friends, we have family members, we have colleagues whose composure under pressure is admirable.
Yeah.
You know, many people will put on their CV that they can work under pressure. That in fact, when there's no pressure, they cannot really function
they find
effectively.
themselves under pressure.
Exactly. But then you see some people will chicken out under pressure, but you see some people manage the pressure well. And those are people, rather than just call them names, because what we do a lot of times is we just give them a name, you know, we just make them think that they're an outcast, whereas we really admire what it is that they're doing. It's to ask them questions or even to observe them, you know, so that we can continue to acquire this skill. Is that you have a friend or a partner who you think is more understanding than you, and rather than taking undue advantage of the person's understanding nature, and try and seek to ask and learn as well that, okay, I'm in love with you and I like the fact that, see, I'm not that understanding, but you are understanding. How can I also acquire this skill as well? So there are resources available and for us to continue to push this. Like I said, there are books. I have a book, The Magic of Emotional Intelligence. If you're following me on Instagram at Abiola Champ, you can see where to get the book. You know, we have a program also coming on around it. And from time to time, we have things that we're doing around it. Just follow at Abiola Champ. There's more than enough resources, free resources, paid for resources, you know, for you to leverage and on.
So I want to go back to environment, because I think Nigeria is a ball of pressure when it comes to testing the level of your emotional intelligence. And I see this happening all the time, that it seems like whenever these pressures come, we are not able to manage, you know. So it's one thing, I can actually accommodate a lot of things, but when it's repeated, continuous mediocrity that you see all over the place, continuous, how do I even call it? I mean, the country is just almost like set up to continue to, you know, push you to that point where you break actually. So how do you manage to keep yourself, you know, calm amidst that? Not a one-off. It did not happen once and, you know, it's consistently. You know, it's difficult to say you want to stay sane in some environments. So what do you do? Do you stay there? Or do you jackpot? Because a lot of people now are leaving Nigeria because it seems like Nigeria is not, you know, not rooting for their success somehow. Yeah.
So the way the country is set up, and let me start with the jackpot conversation. I mean, anyone seeking better opportunities anywhere you can find it in the world, your destiny is not tied to one country, you know, so go explore and find it. But that said, even in this jackpotting, I hope I can use that expression on this show, even in this jackpotting, it's important that the individual that wants to jackpot or that has already jackpotted should continue to develop his or her emotional intelligence, because you also need it where you're going. Yes, you see a lot of drama happening on the streets of Lagos, for example. In traffic, you find someone you know, who's supposed to be using his brain, I would say, you know, all suited up, dressed up with tie, and because someone has bashed his car, will come out, roll the sleeves, you know, and then get into blows.
That's what it takes to.
You know, I think we forgot to pay our bills. Let us go and pay our bills. We'll be right back. Stay with us. All right, thanks for staying with us. I have a question. Somebody says, I'm looking forward to opening a business, but I don't know how and what business. This one is not. Oh, is that? Oh, yeah, that's so.
Wow. Well, he was responding to your question.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
how do you manage in Nigeria? So, it's important to know that issues generally, we find ourselves in two circles. There's a circle of concern, something affecting me that I cannot do anything about. And there is the circle of influence, something affecting me that I can do something about. In the middle of the pressure, in the middle of all these things happening in our country, the question to always ask is, what can I do about it? But what we do a lot of times without paying attention to emotional intelligence is we put our energy, our time, our resources into the things we cannot control. For example, I can't control what you would say to me or how you would react. I don't know what happened last night or what happened this morning, but I can control how I will respond to you when you react to me in a particular way. So all our efforts should be about how we would react to situations and not necessarily those situations. We don't have control over traffic, for example. We probably don't even have control over somebody bashing us, you know. But you know, the village people are whispering to you that yes, we are slapping, you know. Village people, they are using village voice, you know, to talk. But the question to ask is, when I now do that and I've served you as hot as it is, what next? When we check a lot of times, there are things we are losing. You know, some other people may be hailing you that, yes, do it. Yes, you know, and using different kinds of things to hail us into doing those things. But what am I losing? What am I losing with my business? What am I losing with my family? What am I losing even with my person, you know, with my personal brand? And you don't need to be a celebrity to have a personal brand. So far you're an individual, you know, you have a personal brand. Is that, what is it that I'm losing? So for the most part, we want to focus on the things that we can control. You see, a lot of things, and research has proven this over time, a lot of the things that stress us, they are not things that we worry about.
Mm-hmm.
We worry about a lot of things. We worry about things that are not in place, things that we hope to have, you know, that we don't have. We worry about, you know, infrastructure not in place in the country. We worry about a lot of things. It's always about putting our energy into what I can do about it. So the question always is, this thing stressing me, this thing I don't like, this mediocrity, you know, that I detest, that I see around in people, what can I do about it? There are times that the reason some people are mediocre is because they don't know better. So they may probably need training. Now, when I say training, not necessarily that you put them within the four walls of a classroom It may just be a consistent engagement to reorientate them. You know.
Okay.
Quickly.
Talking about Nigeria and relating this emotional intelligence to how we can move the country forward or transform it. When you talk about it in a personal capacity like we established, it is self-awareness, understanding self. So do you think that Nigeria as a country understands her problem?
You see, I like this Harvard question. So, do I think Nigeria as a country? The question is, who is Nigeria that should understand its problem? Are we talking about a geographical location, or are we talking about its people? If we're talking about its people, who, which people, what category of people are we talking about that should understand the problem of Nigeria? I think that from what we've seen and heard, I think the problem of Nigeria can be traced to a lack of cohesion in the thoughts of people to move their country forward. These people think it should be green, these other people think it should be white, and so there are divergent views. And no matter the effort certain people have tried to put in place to try to bring people together, you will always see that dichotomy. You always see people in their groups. You know, every now and then you see people agitating that we want so and so nation, or we are so and so people. So you don't see a lot of agitation around let us come together. You don't see a lot of agitation around I don't care about your tribe or your ethnicity or your religion. You see people always talking about ethnicity, tribe, or religion. I mean, from the house. I mean, if you were when you were younger, probably in secondary school or so, and then you show up with a boy, just your friend, no intimacy. You show up with a boy who's not from your ethnic background. Your parents may start having foresight that it's looking like Elsie may show up in 10 years' time with this boy, and this we don't do XYZ with this boy. Now, I'm not necessarily talking about someone totally out of your ethnicity. It may just be the following street or the following, just that there's some level of difference between the two, and they say, no, they are not our people. You know,
so we don't even have that identity yet to even understand our problem.
Exactly.
Wow.
So there's no cohesion. There's no national identity. And so when we're talking about understanding the problem, it begins with that. It is when we
so it means that we are not even in the first step of emotional intelligence.
No, we're not.
Okay, cool.
Wow.
Quickly.
Just very quickly, I was going to ask that how early can we introduce emotional intelligence to children?
From childhood. From childhood, because every one of us were a product of two things. We're a product of nature and nurture. Nature, heredity. Nature, some of us, we probably talk like, look like, behave like our parents. Not because they taught us, it's because it's in our genes. I remember back in the day, there's a particular family that every member of that family, they have the same gait, which is they walk alike. So even if there's no power and you see somebody walking in a particular way in darkness, you know the person is from that family. That is nature. There is the other one, nurture. Nurture begins with the family. It also includes what we see in the media and every other person that we engage with. We are still being nurtured, by the way, despite that we're adults. We're still being influenced. So it is about introducing it from childhood when the child continues to grow and continues to see a lot of things. You know, the opinion we have about people, the opinion we have about men, about women, about people from particular places, most of those things are informed by the things we've seen, heard over a period of time.
Abiola Salami.
Yes.
It says our politicians' emotional intelligence must be very high to continue to manipulate us to date. That they have high emotional intelligence. But we ran out of time. So tell us, if we say we want to start as individuals, I mean, I like where Elsie began from. Personally, just getting to that point of self-awareness and all of that. Is it possible? Can we start there? Can we start that journey to transformation from there? And, you know, apart from your book, where are the resources that we can find, you know, to just help us start that journey?
Great question. And let me quickly comment on the
politician
that said politician. Emotional intelligence is not manipulation. It is something else. If you are manipulating people, it's something else. Emotional intelligence is progressive. It begins with you transforming yourself and then leading other people, you know. Now, how can we now start that journey? It's from self-awareness. And I always talk about looking at the man and the woman in the mirror. And because many times when we're having these conversations, we are fond of pointing fingers without necessarily looking at the person in the mirror. When I look into the mirror, I see myself. I see myself for who I am, and I accept who I am, and I challenge who I am to change, to improve. Enough of some of those things that we hear, all this, if you can, you think you can, you know, all around.
You know, but I'm going to be attending an event that you invited me to. Is it open to everyone? Are you giving free tickets to people?
Okay, so if you are watching this show right now, right now.
Follow him now.
Now. I can hear the now. If you are watching this show right now, follow at Abiola Champ. You will be able to attend the event for free. Free of charge.
Please, because it's actually very important that we start the journey. So you guys are also invited. All right, so thank you so much, Abiola. Thank you, Nomar. Thank you, LC. Now, before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagram. It's at WayShowAfrica. You can interact with us further and drop your comment. More importantly, we just gave away something. So follow him. It's at Abiola Champ. Follow him now. And follow us as well at WayShowAfrica. We want to keep improving ourselves. We want to get ourselves out of where we are today. We have a long way to go, and it's a long journey. So you have to start now. Do something positive today, and follow us and continue the conversations. All right. So if you missed today's quote, here it is again. Tact is the knack of making a point without making an enemy. We must always apply tact in dealing with everything that we do. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 8 p.m. as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408, or send an email to marketing@PlusTvAfrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.